We'll call this regular city council meeting to order on September 3rd, 2024 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Eimer,
Present.
Mr. Bateman,
Present.
Mr. Sanders,
Present.
Mrs. McClellan,
Present.
Mr. Parrott,
Present.
Mr. Downs,
Present.
Mrs. Ross,
Present.
Mrs. O'Donnell.
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anybody who'd like to speak under public participation this evening? Okay, for the record, there is no public participation. We will start with item number 5, oath of office for Eric Davis, patrolman. Eric, please step forward.
Please raise your right hand. Say aye.
I,
Your name.
Eric Davis,
And repeat after me. Having been appointed
have been appointed
to the office of patrolman
to the office of patrolman
in the city of Lincoln
in the city of Lincoln
and the county of Logan,
in the county of Logan.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
I'll support the Constitution
I'll support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the state of Illinois.
of the state of Illinois,
And I'll faithfully discharge the duties
and I'll faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of patrolman
of the office of patrolman
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Take that from me. I'll need you to sign here, please.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. This is going to be similar to the amendment we had to make before, but I'll read the consent agenda and then I'll need a motion on the agenda as presented, then we'll do an amendment. So we'll start with item 6A, payment of bills. 6B, approval of July 15th, 2024 regular city council meeting. July 15th, 2024 public hearing meeting. July 23rd, 2024 special voting session. 6C, approval of request from Lincoln Community High School football boosters to close Wyatt Avenue from South Kickapoo Street to Lincoln Community High School on Thursday, September 26, 2024, from 4:30 p.m. to until 7:30 p.m. for Lincoln Community High School homecoming decorating and whitewashing. And 6D, approval of request from the Logan Rail Splitting Association to close various city streets and provide 6 picnic tables from 8 a.m. on Saturday, September 21st, 2024 until 8 p.m. on Sunday, September 22nd, 2024 for the Logan Rail Splitting Festival. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderwoman Rolfs made the motion, Alderman Eimer second. Okay, you should have all received a email from the city clerk, and we need an amendment to change the July 23rd special voting session to the July 23rd committee of the whole meeting.
Move to change the title from July 23rd special voting session to July 23rd committee of the whole meeting.
Second.
Alderman Parrott made the amended motion, Alderman Downs second. Discussion? Roll call on the amendment, please.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mrs. Ross,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mr. Eimer,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott.
Yes.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the consent agenda as amended? Okay, roll call on the consent agenda as amended, please.
Mr. Eimer,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mrs. Ross,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue.
Yes.
Okay. Next item is item number 7, ordinance authorizing the sale of excess personal property.
Second.
Alderwoman O'Donahue made the motion, Alderman Sanders second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mrs. Ross,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Eimer,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman.
Yes.
Next item is item number 8, approval of bid from Harold Goodman Incorporated for the demolition and removal of the property at 516 Fifth Street at a cost not to exceed $5,800.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Sanders made the motion, Alderwoman O'Donahue second. Alderman Bateman.
Wes, did we get an additional bid for cleaning out the foundation and everything and making that a?
There will be no additional costs, contractor-wise. There'll be a little extra weight, obviously tonnage-wise, but yeah, I went and looked at it and talked to him, and there won't be any
He's
additional.
gonna pull brick or whatever.
Yeah,
kind of
there,
foundation.
it ended up being, I was able to kick through the floor. It's 18-inch crawl, brick crawl, well, I guess 2 foot, so, cost-wise, I don't know, it's because it would be the weight, but contractor-wise, there's no additional cost.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. O'Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Eimer,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mrs. Ross.
Yes.
Next item is item 10A, approval of economic development grant to High Tide Investments LLC for floor joist and exterior door replacement at 1230 Fifth Street in an amount not to exceed $7,500.
Move
To
to
approve.
approve.
Second.
Alderwoman Rolfs made the motion, Alderman Downs second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mrs. Ross,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Eimer,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott.
Yes.
Okay, next item is item 10B, approval of economic development grant to Bill Bree for window replacement at 429 Pulaski Street in an amount not to exceed $7,500 pending approval from the Historic Preservation Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Downs made the motion, Alderwoman Rolfs second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ross,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Eimer,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Downs.
Yes.
Next item is 10C, approval of supplemental engineering agreement between Hanson Professional Services and the City of Lincoln for the Fifth Street Road project in an amount not to exceed $49,500.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Sanders made the motion, Alderwoman Rolfs second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ross,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Eimer,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mrs. McCullen,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Downs.
Yes.
Next item is 10D, approval of the mayoral appointment of Ron Keller to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Second.
Alderwoman O'Donahue made the motion, Alderwoman McClellan second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCullen,
Yes.
Mr. Parrott,
Yes.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mrs. Ross,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Eimer,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes.
Next is 10E, approval of mayoral proclamation number 2024-497, proclaiming September 2024 as National Suicide Prevention and Action Month in the City of Lincoln.
Motion to approve. Second.
Alderman Downs made the motion, Alderman Sanders second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sanders,
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Eimer? Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Next item is 10F, approval of the completion of the Memorial Park Drive project in an amount not to exceed $75,000 from the Sewer O&M Fund.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Eimer made the motion. Alderwoman O'Donahue second. Discussion? Alderman Downs.
Just want to say this project is long overdue. Thank you for everybody who involved. I'm sure me and David received a overwhelming amount of phone calls about it this week, so thank you for everyone for reaching out.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. O'Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Eimer?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Ross?
Yes.
And the last item this evening is 10G, approval of moving to quiet title on ground owned by the city of Lincoln.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Alderman Bateman made the motion. Alderman Eimer second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Eimer?
Yes.
Mr. Bateman?
Yes.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mrs. Ross?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Donahue?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us down to announcements. Does anybody have an announcement they'd like to make? Alderwoman Rolfs and then Miss Bateman.
On Friday, I received a phone call from a resident who lives in the Lincoln Community High School District. And as we know, once school starts, that becomes a very heavy traffic pattern coming out of Lincoln High School. And apparently there have been some excessive speeds of those people, which we know usually does happen. And so I was just asked if I would please make a comment to the police, especially if there's anybody that is down there in that area, to watch them. He said he's really concerned about somebody getting hit and being worse than that, maybe getting killed. So I said, I'm very familiar with what happens at the beginning of the school. And I says, a lot of times it's just the kids have just gotten their license. They haven't learned that that needs to be really watched. So if we could keep an eye on that for the citizens that live down there at that intersection by the church down there, they would appreciate it.
We don't have any problem taking care of that request as staffing is available, and I'll go ahead and talk to the school resource officer at Lincoln Community High School, maybe have them put something out to the kids, letting them know that they're going to be held accountable if they choose to drive dangerously.
Thank you.
Chief, could we relocate the speed sign from Elm Street down to Pulaski?
We can. I actually just set that out on Elm Street, North Elm, a few weeks ago to deal with a traffic problem there. I haven't received any other complaints since that time, so I think we can move the sign here pretty soon.
Okay.
And continue to monitor just with radar on Elm Street.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, Miss Bateman.
This Saturday, we're having a fundraiser at IGA. You know how they sell the sandwiches at lunchtime. Come on out for the Purple Heart. I've done it for many years with Joe Shaler, and this year I got to do it by myself. Not literally by myself. I have other people that is coming from Springfield from the Chapter 159 to help, but Joe's going to be in my heart. So let's raise some money for him.
Thank you. Treasurer Conzo.
Thank you, Mayor. We've all familiar with the fact that the high-speed rail project has been ongoing for quite a while. And I just call your attention to it if you're interested in reading it. In the September issue of Trains Magazine, there's a very thorough article on it, and it talks about some of the things that have delayed the progress on it and kind of where we are with it. And I'm not going to read this article verbatim or anything like that, but one phase of this, one of the initial phases, is this North American Joint Positive Train Control Project. And what that is a way for and I'm not a technology person, as I think most of you know, but it's a way for the signal systems from the different lines that cross to talk to each other, so to speak, and it's faster than the manual system. And that enables the locomotives to communicate with each other and with the with this central system faster, and enables the trains to travel at a higher speed. The initial test on that, which has now been completed, was from Mazonia, which is the 62 mile post, to Ridgely, which is a tower in Springfield. It's 120 mile post, 126. So it's about a 64 mile stretch of track, and that has now been completed. And so the trains travel over that at higher speeds. They slow down in certain areas where there's speed restrictions, but as you've probably noticed, they travel at fairly high speed through that section of track. So that's kind of that was one of the things that was holding it up, was getting that system to work perfectly, because it has to work perfectly. And so it's been a longer stretch than was anticipated. So that's been done, and it looks like that project's going to move forward at a little bit greater speed. So I think that's good news.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Ms. McClellan, and then Mr. Downs.
Could Mrs. Bateman tell us a little bit about Purple Heart?
It's veterans that got wounded or killed in the line of duty. My dad was a Purple Heart recipient. That's how Joe got me hooked into it. Joe, as we know, Joe Shaler was very passionate about the Purple Heart. And there's more out there than you think that have the Purple Heart.
Mr. Downs.
Saturday, September 7th, there's a recovery walk, or a walk for recovery at Scully Park from 1 to 3. It's focused on substance abuse and mental health recovery. And I want you guys to be aware, and I want the community to be aware, and I want those people who are there to feel welcome and loved.
Do you know what the times are for that?
1 p.m. to 3.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other announcements this evening? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? Alderman Downs made the motion. Alderwoman O'Donoghue second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 6:18 p.m.